Whew. What is going on, y'all? My name is Spice. This is Spice Camp Fish, and today we've got another review for y'all. Now, a lot of people will actually go out and put up first impressions and like reviews after just using products for a day, a week, something like that. But for me personally, I don't really want to see how these reels or rods or products actually work when they're new, because obviously when everything's new, it works a lot better than once it's used and abused and actually taken out and, put to work. Now, once I first get a rod or a reel in the mail, obviously I want to give you guys my first impressions as well, so I usually do a first impressions video when I originally get the product, but after about a year or so of testing them, I want to actually give you guys my final thoughts and opinions as to whether or not they're worth your money. If you guys haven't seen my other 1-year review, I actually recently did one on the SLX TC, so if you guys are interested in seeing my final thoughts and opinions on that reel, I'll leave that video linked down in the description for y'all to go check out as well. But today, we are going over, actually, not one, but 2 different reels. These are both from the same company, and there's a reason that I wanted to put them together, not just because when I did the first impressions, I unboxed them and gave you my first impressions together. Now, these 2 reels are the Kastking Brutus and the Kastking Spartacus. I believe these are 2 of their least expensive reels on the market. This one, the Brutus, I think is like $35 or something, and then the Spartacus is like a little bit more. I think it's like $40 or $45, but both super inexpensive reels. So the reason that I picked up these 2 reels, even though they were very inexpensive, was because I honestly just wanted to see how they would do. A lot of people use inexpensive reels underneath that $50 price point, and it seems like a lot of them work relatively well. But in my opinion, reels actually end up getting kind of janky underneath that $100, $120 price range. So I wanted to see if I could try and find a few that are inexpensive but relatively long lasting and would actually be, decent reels for someone who's just starting out or maybe just doesn't want to spend a lot of money on fishing tackle like I do. So for today's review, I'm going to start off by talking about the Brutus, and then we're going to get into the Spartacus. So if y'all are just interested in seeing the Spartacus, you can jump to this time right here, and that's when we'll start talking about this reel. But with that being said, let's get into the review. So I actually picked these reels up. Actually, I think it's been almost exactly a year. I think I got these reels in like late February or early March of last year, and at the time that I'm filming this video and the day that I'm putting it up, I believe it's either going to be the last day of February or the very first day of March, depending on when it goes up. So starting off with the Brutus, this is, I believe, the cheapest casting reel that Kastking actually makes. Again, I think it's $35, but I'll have the actual price down on the screen for you guys right here. And honestly, when I first picked this reel up, I wasn't really sure what to expect. Again, it's a really cheap reel, so I wasn't really expecting it to be the most high quality components, wasn't really expecting it to be made out of metal or, any of the really higher quality components that you see in a lot of the higher dollar reels like Shimano's and Daiwas and stuff like that. And obviously, again, since it's a $35 reel, they're not going to be using the highest quality components when it comes to putting this reel together. I think most of it is just like a hard plastic or something like that, but there is actually a good bit of like aluminum and metal in here. And as soon as I took it out of the box, I was honestly blown away with this reel. It handles super well. It's not like super light or like doesn't feel like it's gonna fall apart on you. It's relatively solid. There's a few places around here and there that aren't exactly the best. Again, that's what you get with a $35 reel, but all things considered, it was a really good reel. This is probably the Kastking reel that you guys have seen on the channel most of all. I don't really throw the Spartacus as much, which we'll get into a little bit later, but the Brutus definitely far and away has been my favorite out of the 2 reels. This reel comes in left as well as right hand retrieve. This one is obviously the right hand retrieve because I'm a lefty, so I set the hook harder with my left hand and I like to reel with my right hand. But you can get them in a left hand as well if that's what you're interested in or that's what you use. Like I said, it's not a super light reel. I was expecting this to be really light and just made out of really low quality plastic because of the price point, but honestly it surprised me. It comes in at just over 7 ounces, so again, not the lightest reel, not the heaviest reel, just a good all around. It's relatively comfortable in your hand and it doesn't weigh down your rod. It doesn't really matter what rod you have it on. It's not gonna make your rod feel unbalanced or anything. This reel comes with 4 +1 bearings in it. I really don't think the bearing number matters all that much as long as you have more than 4 bearings. That kind of is the sweet spot for me. Anything above that's just kind of marketing, I guess. But 4 bearings is a good amount. You, again, don't really need like 13 bearings like a lot of these reels are now advertising. Obviously, the more ball bearings that you have in a reel, the smoother it's going to cast and reel, but honestly, I've never really had that many problems with this up until probably the end of the year this year. The one thing that I wasn't super excited about with this reel is actually the grips that they come with. Hang on, I'm gonna pull these off real quick. So I don't know if y'all can see that, but that's what the actual grip on these looks like. And they're not bad by any means. They're just a little bit small for my liking. I just wanted something that's a little bit beefier, a little bit wider, so it's a little bit easier for me to grab onto. So I just went out and got these little, I don't even know what they are. They're just kind of like grips, I guess. And you just take them and slide them onto these. And they make it a little bit easier to reel, a little bit more comfortable. And honestly, once I put those on, this very quickly became one of my favorite reels to throw. Both the Kastking Spartacus as well as the Brutus have the magnetic brakes on the side, so it's just got that little knob. Most reels kind of have that knob. A few of them have this little pull thing where you have to pull it off and actually switch it like that, which you can do with this as well. If you pull this little thing down and then twist it, this will actually come off and you can get in, clean the bearings and whatnot in here. But a lot of this stuff is really just pretty standard on most reels. Although I do have to say I like this little pull thing. It makes it super easy to just interact with your reel and get into the interiors if you need to. Although it doesn't really go back on super easy, so just keep that in mind. It will go back on. I'm just not very good at it, but hang on. There we go. All right, yeah. So again, just a very standard average reel. I definitely would suggest this one over the Spartacus if you're gonna buy one of them. Not just for the price, but also it just seems like it's a little bit more of a long-lasting reel. Now, like I said before, I did end up having some issues with this reel. If you guys can hear that, it's pretty loud right now. There's probably some sand or something in it, but overall, it still reels relatively well. It's just a little weird feeling now. Again, not a very expensive reel, so I was pretty surprised that it lasted me pretty much the entire year, but I think regardless, if you're one of those people who goes out and doesn't really fish a ton, maybe like once every couple of weeks or maybe once a month or something like that, as opposed to like 5 days a week like I usually do, this reel's actually not a bad call. I would definitely suggest picking it up. If you're not trying to spend a whole bunch of money, this won't break the bank, and at least the one that I had worked out relatively well for a decent amount of time. Also, I don't know if I mentioned, but both of these reels come in the 6.3-to-1 gear ratio, so they're actually made more, I guess, for cranking or like deeper cranking or something like that. A lot of people like to use a 6.3-to-1 for jerkbaits as well. I'm more of a faster reel kind of guy for a jerkbait, like a 7-speed or an 8-speed is going to work a little bit better for me. But overall, I have to say this reel has definitely exceeded my expectations for a cheap reel. Now, on to the Spartacus. So again, when I first picked up these reels, this was the one that actually caught my eye a little bit more than that one. As you guys can probably tell, it's, again, got that red accent, mostly black, but it has a little bit of red on there, which, again, I really, really like. Red's actually my favorite color, in case you guys were curious. And honestly, I think this reel looks better than the other one. Not that looks, again, really matter all that much to me, but if we're just going based off of looks, I do really like this one a lot better than the Brutus. I'm a real big fan of cork, both on rods as well as reels. I just think it gives a really nice feel to it. The EVA foam is fine, I guess, but if I had to choose, I would definitely have all cork, probably all full grip rods, and then mostly cork handles as well. Looks aside though, this reel, not that it didn't exceed expectations or meet expectations, because again, this isn't a very expensive reel. I believe these ones go for between $40 and $50. And honestly, I don't know why, but this more expensive reel doesn't seem to work as well as the less expensive one. Again, this is the 6.3-to-1 gear ratio, so I got this one as well for cranking. This one I actually got more for square bills just because it's a little bit lighter, it casts a little bit lighter, lures a bit better. And this one I actually got for lipless crankbaits a little bit more. More recently, I've actually realized that I like a little bit faster of a gear ratio for lipless crankbaits, so I don't really have a lot of use for this reel, but even if I did have use for it, I probably wouldn't use it very much. Again, I got this reel in February or March of last year, and probably by April or so it started making a grinding noise, and I just kind of fell out of touch with it. It's just not exactly what I would go for. And that's something that I think is really interesting, because if you look at the specs between this reel and this reel, this one actually sounds a whole lot better than the Brutus. Instead of just the one magnetic brake, it actually has what's called a dual braking system, so it's got the magnetic ones on the outside, and then if you open up the inside, there's actually another little dial that you can change the settings a little bit further. And also this reel has a ton more bearings. This actually has 11 versus the 4 in this one. But for some reason, this one reels better, it casts better, it handles better. I like it better. Again, besides the looks of it, I like this reel a lot better than this one. Now, I know it's kind of a slightly biased review because I've only used one of these. Sometimes you just get a bad reel from the factory and it just doesn't work out very well. But personally, if I was to pick up one of these reels again, I would definitely pick up the Brutus over the Spartacus. And again, since this reel started acting up super fast, I never really got a chance to use it all that much. I'm gonna try and fix it a little bit and see if I can get it to not be as loud or grindy or anything, but it's not a very great reel from my perspective. Now, again, if you guys are those kinds of people who go fishing like bi-weekly or monthly or something like that, this may be another good option for you. Again, if I was to suggest one, I would suggest the Brutus over the Spartacus, but either way, you can't really go wrong. In the grand scheme of things, $50 is pretty much nothing to spend on a reel, so even if you go with the more expensive one and you're just expecting an okay reel that'll do the job, I think you'll be able to get away with this. I just personally wish that this one performed as well as the Brutus did, but again, that might just be I may have gotten a bad one from the factory, and I'm going to see if I can either change the bearings out or just clean it up a little bit and see if I can get that whine to go away. But ever since I started casting it, it just kind of makes a weird whining noise. So ever since I started fishing this, probably within the first 2 weeks, it was already making that weird whining noise, which is why I stopped using it. Now again, the Brutus is pretty much on its last legs, so I'll probably use this for the beginning of the year this year, and then once it fully craps out on me, I'll probably switch over to the Spartacus and just use it until this one really craps out on me. But overall, for both of these reels, I think they're both solid. I don't think they're fantastic, obviously. They're less than $50 reels, so they're not gonna be fantastic, but if you guys are those weekend anglers who don't go out fishing all that much, these might not be a bad idea for you. I know a lot of people throw the Abu Garcia Black Maxes or the Silver Maxes or like any of this lower end loose stuff. I personally have not had good luck with any of those. The Black Max is okay, I guess. I hear really good things about that reel. I just think it's alright. And I've definitely had my issues with a lot of the lower end luge stuff, which is why I don't really use luge reels anymore. I'm sure their higher end gear is probably pretty good, but just from my personal experience, I haven't had good luck with the luge stuff, so I kind of stay away from it. But if for some reason you have a problem with the Black Max or Abu Garcia or any of the luge stuff, or you just want to broaden your horizons a little bit, I would definitely suggest going and checking out Kastking reels. And honestly, in the future, I might pick up some more Kastking reels. Probably not these ones or anything below that like $75, $80 price range, just because I don't tend to have good luck with those kind of reels, and just overall their build quality isn't going to be as good as some of the higher end stuff. And from what I've noticed on Kastking, I think most of their reels are relatively well priced. A lot of them are underneath that $150 price range, and I don't think they go above $200. So if you guys are looking for some relatively inexpensive gear and you just want to try out a new company, I would definitely suggest Kastking. But overall, they're both relatively decent reels. Again, the Spartacus for me is acting up, but I'm sure that there's a ton of other people who would say differently out there. Again, probably just got a bad one from the factory, or it's probably something that I did wrong to it. But if I was to pick one, again, Brutus all the way, hands down. Would suggest getting some of these little knob protectors. Those definitely help the grip ability and fish ability of these reels a little bit. But obviously you can fish these without the little grips on them. They just make it a little bit easier for me just because I like a little bit of a bigger, thicker handle. But I think that's going to do it for me, y'all. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I hope I was able to give you guys a little bit of an insight as to whether or not you should pick up one of these reels. I'm not sponsored by Kastking. I'm not gaining or losing anything from talking well or badly about them. I just wanted to give you guys my honest review, honest opinions, in case y'all were curious and wanted to pick up some of these reels for yourselves. If you guys like the content, do me a favor, go down below, hit the like button. It lets me know you guys like the content and helps more people see these videos as well. On top of that, if you want to see some more content from me, go down below and hit that subscribe button. There's 2 new videos that I put up every single week, once on Monday and once on Friday, and I'll probably be increasing that to 3 videos once I can actually get out and do some fishing. But if you guys are interested in helping me grow my channel and also seeing some more content from me, then go down below and hit that subscribe button. But I think that's going to do it for me, y'all. I hope this video gave you guys a little bit better insight as to whether or not you should buy these inexpensive reels, and I really hope that I was able to give you guys some good information regardless. But I think that's going to do it for me, y'all. Check them and wreck them, and I'll catch you on the next one. I'm out. Peace!